Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Unscaled Travel Show. My name is Jeremy Long. I am your host. I'm here with my co-host and co-explorer, Amy.
Hello.
We're in beautiful Las Vegas in the Diamondback Land Surveying Studios, and we're going to be talking about the Vatican today. I realize that we've had episodes where we've talked about our trips to Rome and things like that, and we've mentioned the Vatican, but we've never really talked about our visit like inside the Vatican and how much fun we had, how much history and art and everything is just within those walls that still, for a lot of people in the outside world, remain a little bit of a mystery.
Absolutely. When we went, I'm a little embarrassed to say, I had no concept of what was going to be there other than that's where the Pope lives. So I was just kind of envisioning this giant estate, not an actual functioning, like, its own independent country, basically. Yeah. So it did take me by surprise once we got inside, because when you first enter, it's almost like, oh, you're going into a museum, and then it's so much more than that I felt like I was very unprepared for that day.
Yeah, I think if you don't grow up Catholic, or you're not a part of that religion necessarily, your view on the Pope and all of that in the Vatican might be a little skewed to just kind of what you pick up through media, in a sense. So, I was kind of underwhelmed too, in my knowledge of what we were doing and actually seeing. And now most people probably know, like, the Sistine Chapel was there and all of that, and we'll get to that, and it's so beautiful and everything, but there are so many other parts of it that are definitely must-sees. There are tips that we've learned, things that we wish we would have done a little bit differently. And we're going to try to put as much of that into this episode as you possibly can. Now, it is, in fact, it's the world's smallest country. It's one of these places, like, it's a country you can literally walk across in less than 30 minutes and still spend weeks going through its museums and everything else, because it's so packed full of just, I want to say hundreds, if not thousands of years of human history, all kinds of stuff. So we're going to get to as much as we possibly can without making it an information overload here.
Right. Well, and as we said, we weren't really prepared. And so we missed things because we did not book enough time to be there.
Yeah.
So that step one is, this is at least a full day activity. You could potentially go back a couple of days, depending on how long you want to really explore and how deeply you want to explore. We booked a morning tour and thought we'll be done by lunch. And by lunchtime we were starving, and I felt like we'd really only just begun.
Yeah. By the time we started heading out, we just kind of looked at it around like, man, we should have booked different, more days, consecutive days. And then there are other things we're going to let you know about that are separate tickets that you need to prepare in advance, like know about it so you can prepare the best you can to go, okay, I need a separate ticket for this. But there are some places on here that only allow, I think, like 200 people a day to go do. So if you want to do this and you're going to go to Italy next year, I'd start booking tickets now.
Right. Because I looked it up. When we went, it was so crowded. It was so crowded. Yeah. And I was like, how many people actually go to the Vatican every year? Between 6 and 7 million people annually visit the Vatican. Yeah. So if you break that down by day, it's thousands of people a day walking around. So try to plan your trip out as far in advance as you can.
And I think it was like a Wednesday when we went. So it wasn't even like weekend crowds or anything else like that. But like I was saying, the Vatican or Vatican City or whatever is actually the world's smallest independent country, more of like a city-state. It was established in 1929 with a treaty between the Kingdom of Italy at the time and the Catholic Church, right? So it has its own little government, post office, radio station, coinage, all that stuff. And even its ATMs are still in Latin. So it does have ATMs, to answer that question, number one, but all the instructions are in Latin. So that's, be prepared. Kind of little interesting tidbit. who signed that thing, that treaty. Well, it was a representative of the church, and one, it was some guy named Mussolini, who wasn't the dictator that people would know him for, but it was actually the prime minister of Italy at that time. So just a little bit of knowledge, right? So, it has this clergy, and people probably know about the church aspect of it. So not too much in that, but it was kind of created to give the church sovereign independence. So it wouldn't fall under the control of the kingdom at the time, going through stuff. And for some reason, I thought the Vatican itself, independent, was way older than 1929 when it was created. But there you go.
Yeah, I did too.
So we saw all kinds of fun little stuff there, like kind of outlier stuff, like the Swiss Guard.
Yes.
Because I think at one point you poked me and you're like, look at those.
They look like court jesters, the way they're dressed.
They do. It's like Shakespearean cosplay.
Right.
Which is crazy because these guys are actually an extremely talented and dangerous, like they call it the smallest army in the world. And I think there's less than 200 of these guys, but they are highly trained military operatives. Yes, they are Swiss Guard. Yes, they are Swiss. So
that's interesting.
Italians, and then you have Swiss
Guard
right there. And there's all kinds of requirements. We'll get into all of that. But like starting out with like things to see. The big ones, of course, just jump out at you. The St. Peter's Basilica is probably number one. It's where most tours empty out into because people just get to walk around and see. I was unprepared because I've only ever seen it through pictures. It is the world's largest church.
It's huge.
It is the biggest church in the world, and it is gigantic.
Yes.
I remember both of us, after we kind of went and got into the doors, we both just kind of stood there and stared at this magnificent, beautiful, but just gigantic building.
There are sculptures everywhere, carvings in the walls. You cannot really describe what it was like to walk in there. And like every kind of nook and turn, there was just something else to see. And there were doors that took you other places, or you could climb up to the dome, which we wanted to do. But by that point, we were kind of exhausted. But it is huge. I think you could go down a level into like the basement. Just so much. You could spend hours there alone.
Yeah.
And I think I saw just recently that a tourist was doing some things they weren't supposed to do in the Basilica. So I wouldn't be surprised if the security's cracked down even more. But we saw quite a bit of security when we were there.
Absolutely. I think the Pope was home. I think he was actually doing his Pope thing at the time. And I think when I saw an interesting stat, made me think of this as we started researching this episode. And now the new Pope is an American, first time ever. And the searches for an already really popular place surged, I think, somewhere in the 24,000%.
Wow.
Because now just a fresh new thing of eyes because something had never been done in an American Pope. And now I believe probably within the next few years, a lot of people are planning trips to go and just, to a lot of people, it might seem like a step in a new direction.
Yeah.
And, more people, I think, getting on board and want to go see within the walls.
Well, and if you've never been to the Vatican, it is very interesting to see, even if you're not Catholic. So if you're in Italy or happen to be going that direction, I do think it's worth a stop in and check out the smallest country in the world.
Yeah, everyone rushes through the doors at the Basilica to go see the Michelangelo pieces and different things like that. They often miss a lot of stuff. So we're going to start getting into a little bit of all of that. Some of the things you don't really want to miss, but a lot of people do. All right, keep it right here. It's the Unscaled Travel Show. Yeah, we're going to have fun. We'll be right back too.
Unscaled Travel Show is brought to you by Diamondback Land Surveying. For all your land surveying needs, contact Diamondback Land Surveying at 702-823-DBLS.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Unscaled Travel Show. Jeremy Long here with my co-host and co-explorer, Amy.
Hello.
We're in Sin City, but we're talking about the Vatican, so I'll keep it family-friendly. We're here at the Diamondback Land Surveying Studios. We're talking about all this new interest in going to the Vatican there in Rome and the things you can expect, but also some of the stuff you shouldn't miss, but a lot of people overlook sometimes. And there are a few things, we were just talking about like this St. Peter's Basilica. There are other things that we'll get to, like the necropolis and different things like that you need separate tickets for and permissions to do. You can't just walk in there on any given day and do whatever. So you're going to have to plan ahead. And this is one of those places already seen, you noted earlier, 6 or 7 million people a year walking through the walls. And now with all this renewed interest with the new Pope and everything, they're expecting even more.
Right.
Which is crazy. But
and I think you were very smart when we decided to go. You booked a tour through Viator, I believe, so that we would have somebody guide us through that. And we ended up meeting our tour guide a few blocks away, remember? And we were in kind of groups, and each group had their own tour guide. And because of that, our tickets were for first thing in the morning. And do you remember how long the line was to get in?
The line was so long already. And it, like you said, I think we got in with like one of the first groups to walk through the doors opening for that day. And the line, just the wait line was already just...
Because we were with the tour guide, we were able to bypass the regular ticketed line and go straight into kind of the ticket area and where you pick up your headset to hear your tour guide talk. But there were so many people crammed into that tiny little space too, because there were multiple tours going on. Plus you had your regular ticketed people. It felt a little bit like cattle herding, I guess. And it felt like we were walking into a big museum or something.
Yeah, I mean, you got to go through security screening. It is its own country, and so it does have its own postal system. And while they won't check your passport necessarily, they go through different things to track identities and look you over and everything. But you can go somewhere and get like your passport stamped and different things like that. But you do have to go through this one area, and it can be a little, one time it was a little claustrophobic because there was almost wall to wall people. And that's like and that's a good point. I mean, before you go in, when you're getting security check, I think there are a few like vending machines, different things like that, because there's like nothing really else inside the Vatican that you have access to when you're on a tour that you can stop. There might be a cafe somewhere, but it's a very small... She did point out
a cafe back at the front,
but it's a little small area. And, when you have that many people, very small cafe, you might be waiting for a while.
Yeah. So I was very glad that we had the tour guide, but then you're kind of at the mercy of the tour guide for what you want to see. So I would say that's kind of point number one of if you want to go at your leisure and see everything or take your time, probably going with the tour guide is not the best experience for you. Yeah. But it did definitely help us skip the line.
And I will say with our tour guide was very nice. I don't remember her name anymore, but it was booked through Viator, like you said. And it was a really good price. And it came with the skip the line things, which we absolutely recommend every single time. Skip the lines. You're on vacation. You only have a certain amount of time. Why would you want to waste all that staying in line? Anyway, but with that, you get a lot of information. Not all of it, I have learned, is accurate information. Sometimes they mix lore or urban legend with truth and fact.
And we've been on enough tours with tour guides now that depending on your tour guide, you may be getting different information than if you were with a different tour guide. They tell you the things they find interesting, and they tell you what they want you to know. So you could have a completely different experience from one tour guide to the next. Do you remember we were walking through some of the museums and at one point she waved her hand towards one and she's like, we're not going in there. Everything in there is a fake. And we just kept walking. And we were like, it was like a group of 30 people and we're all just like, okay. And we just kept walking past this room.
Absolutely. I mean, that's it. That's a good point. It's like, there were entire sections where she was just like, oh, there's stuff in here, but it's not that interesting. And you're going to look around going, well, it's all kind of interesting, I guess. But again, also, if you're on like tour guides have a schedule. Mm-hmm. And she kept saying that, like, I'm on a schedule and, we're going to be one of the first people to see this and this and this. But like, it means passing up a whole lot of other stuff. Yeah. And you also, again, it still will take you days if you stop and look at everything. Yeah. So you do kind of have to mix and pick and choose, but so, choose your own adventure, as they used to say. Right?
I felt like she hustled us through a lot of stuff. And then we did, as you said, end in the Basilica, which was something we absolutely wanted to see. But by that point, it almost felt like we had been running through the Vatican for a couple of hours. We were kind of like, can we stop and take a break now? Because at that point, she doesn't go into the Basilica with you. The tour ends right outside. And then she's like,
the tour guides aren't allowed to go in.
And she's like, you're on your own. But I kind of just wanted to like sit and catch my breath for a minute before we went in.
Yeah. And there's then the extra things like climbing to the dome of St. Peter's. It's a little bit extra. I think it's like €8 to €10 or something like that. They do have an elevator, which, those with mobility issues or like me, I just don't want to climb stairs. But it only goes up halfway. Mm-hmm. So you're still going to have to climb steps. Or go up those steps. I think there's 551 total steps.
And she did tell us that because it's a dome, if you're taller, you do have to lean over at a certain point because the roof is curved. And there was quite a line to do that too. I think if the line would have been shorter, we would have climbed to the top. But yeah,
we were hungry. Like we've been running for like 2 hours. And other things like restrooms. Restrooms are scarce. And there was a point where we get to some modernized restrooms. And she was like, everyone take 5 minutes, go to the restroom because there's not another restroom this way. So you have to just really think about things like that. And Wednesday mornings, I mean, it's still an active, holy place. Mm-hmm. So you have to, there are free tickets to the papal like audience where the Pope does the blessing or whatever. I'm not Catholic. Sorry. I don't know what he does. He talks to everybody, has a DJ set. I don't know. But you actually see the Pope usually hear a homily, something like that. And you just kind of witness the crowd, embracing their faith and everything. So you just have to be prepared. Like Wednesdays, it's going to be a little... It's going to be a little bit different than other days.
We didn't get to see him when we were there, but I do have a friend that was just in Italy, and she went to the Vatican with her husband, and the Pope came out while they were there. So she did get to see him. She said it was really cool.
Oh, that's cool, man. I kept thinking he would like pop around a corner and be like, Jeremy, what's up? But like, he never did. That one Swiss guard, he was not happy.
He was watching you.
He was... Anybody with a beard like mine. Unskilled Travel Show. We'll be right back.
Unskilled Travel Show is brought to you by Diamondback Land Surveying. For all your land surveying needs, contact Diamondback Land Surveying at 702-823-DBLS.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Unskilled Travel Show. Jeremy Long here with my co-host, co-explorer, Amy.
Hello.
Coming to you from beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada in the Diamondback Land Surveying Studios. So I mentioned the DJ, the Pope DJ thing. As soon as we come back on air, I start picturing I don't know if that's sacrilegious or not. Maybe to some people, but like, I think he could turn a mad tune.
You think?
He could drop the beat. And everybody's there like waving flags. Anyway, talking about what to do at the Vatican and just things we learned on our trip that we want to, pass some information down to you if you've never been. And hopefully, I mean, I think it's definitely one of those places everyone should go at least once, even if you're not Catholic or you're not religious. It's still filled with so much art and beauty and sculptures.
Yes.
And just
multiple museums.
Yeah.
Yeah. So much to see.
Hundreds and hundreds of years of human history, and some of the masters, Michelangelo. I called him Michelangelo earlier. He's not a Ninja Turtle. He's Michelangelo. And people like that. And the guys who taught him, like in the Sistine Chapel. Now
Right.
the Sistine is probably outside of St. Peter's Basilica. I mean, it's probably the most well-known thing inside the Vatican. And everyone focuses on the ceiling, and everyone focuses on I think it's called, what is it? Judgment Day. The very big one there on the wall that he painted. But a lot of people miss the walls. Mm-hmm. They miss all of that. And these were other masters of the Renaissance art periods, and including Michelangelo's teacher, the guy who taught the guy how to paint that we all know. He did a lot of the artwork in there. It wasn't just a one-man job all the way through for hundreds of years. I mean, he worked on it, and he did lie on his back and paint the ceiling and all of that. I mean, that's a true master. But there are so many other things that we, looking back now, we just mentioned basically kind of running through a lot of sections because we were kind of at the mercy of our tour guide at that point. So you do really have to think about that. Like, do I want to be on my own and doing my own thing? And a lot of it, I mean, it's in Italian. Mm-hmm. Some things have, I think, maybe English underneath it or whatever, but not everything does. And a lot of things you kind of look at and go, I don't know what the significance of this is. Exactly. So that's where a tour guide would come in handy. But do you want the freedom to move about and do whatever you want, or do you want the other thing?
Right. So. And I think so I was very excited to see the Sistine Chapel. Obviously, you see it in movies, you see pictures of it, you hear about it. I'm like, okay, this is the thing to see, right? I was not prepared for the actual experience of being in that space. Yeah. It's much smaller than I thought it was going to be. Yeah. People are crammed in there. Like, we were like sardines in this room, and everybody is, as you said, staring up at the ceiling. So people are bumping into each other. You are not allowed to photo or videotape in that space.
They are very serious about that.
But everyone had their phone in their hands, like kind of down by their waist, filming straight up. And you can tell people are trying to like hide that they're filming, but everybody's looking straight up. You're crammed in there. And in the front part of the room, there's like a riser, and you're standing on the riser, and there's no railing. And we got pretty close to the edge before I realized we were being pushed backwards. We almost fell off. So you do have to be a little bit aware of the floor and the people around you. And there's no chairs except in the very back. There were like 2 benches, and that's where some people were kind of waiting for their co-explorers who were taking longer.
They're criminals that were taking pictures and video, like me. Like everyone was doing it. But they give you a very stern warning before and even during, if they do catch you, if you're obvious about it, or if you're trying to travel vlog your trip through the Vatican,
right?
They will stop you. And if they warn you too many times,
they will pull you out. There's security in there.
Absolutely.
Watching people.
Most people talk about Michelangelo. He painted it in the 1500s when, the Renaissance was going on. So, and I mentioned the side panels that like people like Botticelli and all these other great masters of that time, did their thing too. But there's also, you got to know where to look. They have a special chimney. Okay. It's installed during the papal conclaves, like selecting a new pope. Mm-hmm. They only install it, like only use it during these times to let the white or black smoke through the rooftop hole, but you have to know where to look.
Oh.
So it gives you kind of a little side mission. Yes, there's the creation, and Adam and God are almost touching fingers. They're like broing out. What's up, bro? But, you kind of look around and you'll see these special little things like that's only active when they're selecting the new pope. Oh. And it's more of a modern thing. Like I think they installed it, I want to say in the 40s or 50s or something like that. But it's a really cool thing that this is an active room. Like when they're doing the papal conclave, the people that are in the Holy See, and which is like their governing body, are like they use that room. It's like a very used room.
Interesting.
And
I didn't know that.
Not just a room for tourists to come and check out.
I did not know that. Yeah. That is very interesting. The other thing I noticed too was the ceilings in almost every room you go in are painted. So this is not the only room where everybody's staring up at the ceiling. Yeah. And a little bit by the time we got there, I was like, I've been looking at ceilings for an hour and a half now. It is breathtaking to see it in person, but you kind of think that's the only room with painted ceilings. No, you're walking throughout this gorgeous facility and the walls are painted, the ceilings are painted. There's gorgeous paintings on every wall. It's a lot to take in.
I used a urinal.
Was it painted?
One of the masters must have painted it after a bad burrito. The gift shop. Go to the gift shop. That was dumb. Sorry. Go to the gift shop. Go to the post office. The post office is always really crowded and popular because people like to send postcards from them, to themselves or to the ones they love, because that's the only place where you can actually get the Vatican postcard or mail thing.
Postmark.
Postmark. There you go.
I love you.
That thing.
Which we went in to do, but we were so tired and hungry we couldn't figure out how to mail something to ourselves, so we didn't.
How do postcards work? I was so delirious at that point. It's an Unskilled Travel Show. We'll be right back.
Unskilled Travel Show is brought to you by Diamondback Land Surveying. For all your land surveying needs, contact Diamondback Land Surveying at 702-823-DBLS.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Unskilled Travel Show. Yep. I'm Jeremy Long.
Did you forget the name of your own show?
I keep thinking about the Pope, man. Yeah. I'm here with my co-host, Amy.
Hello.
We're in Sin City. You can check us out online, unscaledtravelshow.com. Check us out on YouTube, where we have all kinds of fun and interesting stories. Yeah. We're talking about visiting the Vatican and the things that we wish we would have learned or knew the first time around, but we've learned, and now we're trying to share that experience with you. And, one of the main things that we've mentioned it a couple of times is eating. We've talked about some of the rules in place. We talked about, planning ahead because of the limited spaces where like bathrooms and things like that are, especially if you're with younger ones and you're there visiting the Vatican. But eating is very important. I've heard. There's no cafes within Vatican City itself. There are a few cafes that are resigned to the museums, the different areas like that. So, but depending on how much traffic, foot traffic is happening in the Vatican, things like it might be a little hard to get in and get something and go on with your day in a timely kind of manner. So a lot of people opt for, if they can't find a seat within, they opt for the areas outside of the walls.
Right. So we thought we would go in and do the tour and then get food inside the Vatican City and then continue on seeing other things inside the walls. Yep. But because there were such limited places to get food, we ended up having to leave, and we didn't want to get back in line and pay another ticket price to get back in and see it. So that was probably our mistake number one, that we did not plan ahead on what to eat or bring something with us. Because like we said, you could spend all day in there and still not see anything. And we were hungry. So we kind of saw our top 5 things we wanted to see, and then we walked outside. And luckily, it is surrounded by excellent restaurants.
Oh, yeah. The Borgia neighborhood, our district around there, is just really teeming with all kinds of... I never found a bad place in Italy that we ate.
Right.
We had good times everywhere we went. But it is a touristy place. And so from time to time, you will run into just some obviously touristy spots. They're going to overcharge for simple pasta dishes and things of that nature. So it is like you kind of have to keep your blinders on to a lot of the noise. But if you walk just a little bit out, outside the walls and everything, you'll find some great places. And we found one that was right on one of the main roads, right there outside. I mean, it was maybe a 5-minute walk from St. Peter's Plaza, where we kind of exited out to sitting down and having a beer and having some great food.
We did. It was excellent pasta in the middle of the day, and it wasn't badly priced. I would say it was a very fair price, but we did have to walk just a few minutes to get outside and around the walls. But I think we went away from the crowds. We saw all the crowds going out and sort of turning one direction, and we went the opposite because we knew we're going to find restaurants wherever, in any direction we go in. And so it just kind of worked out for us. We were able to sit out on the sidewalk right outside the walls and eat lunch right there. So we were still kind of in the atmosphere of the Vatican.
Yeah, it still felt very popey. I felt the presence, But it was called, what was it called? La Pallotta. La Pallotta Roma or La Pallotta Roma. My Italian's worse than my English, if you couldn't believe that. But it's like, again, like maybe 3-minute walk. But there were open tables. It was clean. It was cheap. But those kind of places, like La Pallotta, you could walk down so many of those side streets and find little places. You just, want to avoid the McDonald's, because there is, believe it or not, a McDonald's. There's several of them that surround the Vatican, like they're conquerors waiting to get in.
I didn't notice any of that.
Yeah. No. You didn't notice? I mean, they can't, it's not like in the United States where they have the big golden arches everywhere for miles and you can see it, but like, they're kind of tucked into places and things.
Really? I don't recall seeing much fast food there, but maybe I just had my blinders on to that because I wasn't looking for fast food. I was looking for real Italian food. Yeah. And that was our focus. That's what we were eating the whole time we were there. And we did a great job of it.
When we were going around Italy and all places, not just Rome, that when we traveled outside of Rome, one of our unspoken rules was if there was anyone outside beckoning us to come in, if they had a caller or like basically what I call a herder, like, oh, no, come in here, whatever. We didn't go to those places.
Right.
And fairly or unfairly, it's kind of one of those things you learn going around to different places, not just Italy, a lot of different countries, even here in the United States. If you go to the Strip here in Vegas, if there's someone standing outside, usually it's a touristy place. Why? Because they're counting on table turn and they're just trying to get people in and get people out and overpriced because they're counting on people's niceties.
Yeah.
You take a look at the menu, it's all way overpriced and you're too polite to just get up and leave.
Right.
Not ordering anything. So you just you sit there and you take it. So my first rule is like, if someone's outside going, if you approach them and ask them to sit down, it's totally different. Right. But if they're coming basically, on the sidewalk to you, it's still a bit different.
Yeah. And I felt like I saw less of that in Rome than I have in other countries.
Different parts.
But different parts. Yes.
Yeah. Like city center was really bad.
It was nuts. And we were there during an event that was happening in the city. So there were a lot more tourists in the city that week than they typically have. And I felt it for sure. So another tip when you're traveling, find out what's going on in the city the week you're going to be there. Because it may be a big week where a lot of people are traveling, or it may be an off-peak week, which is more ideal.
Those poor souls that come to Vegas when it's like F1.
Oh, gosh.
And most of downtown.
Or it's fight weekend, big fight weekend.
It's all shut down. Mm-hmm. Oh, my gosh. Those people get so heated, man.
I would be ticked off, too.
Because like F1, they close down the streets.
They do it weeks out, though. Yeah. Weeks out. You got to keep that in mind when you travel.
See people, they're like, my only option now is to go to Circus. Nobody wants to go to Circus. Not even Circus. So let's go travel show. We'll be right back.
Unskilled Travel Show is brought to you by Diamondback Land Surveying. For all your land surveying needs, contact Diamondback Land Surveying at 702-823-DBLS.
Welcome back to the Unskilled Travel Show. Jeremy Long here, my co-host and co-explorer Amy.
Hello.
We are talking about visiting the Vatican, right? Everyone should, at least once. Even if you're not religious or have anything to do with, being Catholic or anything like that. It's crazy cool how much art and history is just wound up in this place.
Yes.
I think they have something like 70,000 plus artifacts in the Vatican museums.
Wow.
That's, this is the part that you're paying your ticket for and they're guiding you through if you do the guided tours and all of that. They have like 70,000 different artifacts on display at any time, along with all the art that is permanent on everything. I think it's like somewhere in the neighborhood of 20,000 plus artifacts at any given time.
Because everything can't be out.
Yeah, no.
Wow.
And they're working on different pieces. They employ almost like 700 people for their museums and restorative efforts and things of this nature. So it's really interesting just from a cultural standpoint to just go and check out.
Right.
That everyone should.
I mean, they have an architectural tour.
Yeah.
They have the various museums, as you talked about. If you're into paintings, there's tons of paintings. There's the different artifacts. And there's even, I feel like one room was like Egyptian artifacts. It felt like it didn't even make sense with everything else we were seeing. Yeah. So if for nothing else, you like to go to museums, this is a great stop for you the next time you're in Italy.
And that's a good point. I mean, when you're looking at all the big things, of course, we've mentioned St. Peter's Basilica and the Sistine Chapel, and these are the things that most people are going to know, or you're going to get a lot of information on going into it. But there's a lot of things when you're staring up at those beautiful ceilings and looking at the famous artworks that you will kind of pass around or pass through or look over and not really think twice about until after you've already left. You mentioned the Egyptian part of it, and it's the Gregorian Egyptian Museum part of the Vatican. So it's, I think, the early 1800s, but it's an 1800s collection of sarcophagi and hieroglyphs and different mummified remains that you otherwise wouldn't really expect to find inside the Vatican. Not the culture, not anything with the religion, but it was founded under Pope Gregory the 16th. Right. It reflects basically the Vatican's, obsession with preserving and absorbing all the world history, not just Christian history and not just, Catholic history.
Interesting.
And you'll start seeing as the popes, as everything grew, I was going to say their power and influence grew, like more and more things kind of end up in these collections, rightly or wrongly, depending on how people feel, blah, blah, blah. That's a different show. But along with the Vatican museums, you'll see things like the Cabinet of Masks, which we did pass through, which I
don't remember that.
I saddled up next to you and I was like, what is with these masks, right? Because I didn't know what the heck to look for. But they call it the Cabinet of Masks, and it's hidden kind of within this section of the museum that it's just like this little small intimate gallery, and it has Roman mosaics basically that feature gods and theater masks, and yes, even some erotic imagery.
Oh.
But a lot of these things were once owned by emperors, and they've just been collected.
I don't remember that at all.
You don't?
No, I don't.
You tuned me out a lot. I walked up next to you, I was like, what is with these masks?
Well, and we're also wearing headsets to listen to the tour guide, which I think at one point we just took the headsets off.
I took them off. Yeah. She was so far ahead. And
yeah. One of the things that sticks out most in my mind, because it's the magnet that we got in the gift shop, was the giant pine cone sculpture. And it seems so odd that there is just a giant bronze pine cone.
And it's one of the first things that you encounter once you go through security and everything
so when we saw there's a magnet of it, I'm like, I have to have a magnet of a giant bronze pine cone. But it's like, why? Why is that a sculpture?
So it is, right? And it's in the aptly named pine cone courtyard that most people know. that pine cone actually was a part of I think it was part of one of the fountains that was near the Pantheon. And they moved it years and years ago. And what's interesting is that it's almost, I think it has something to do with pagan gods or whatever, about fertility and other things and rebirth and all this other stuff. And they took it and kind of put it up on that beautiful double staircase that was designed by Michelangelo. Not a whole lot in there that wasn't designed by Michelangelo, by the way. But it now sits as kind of almost this like crown jewel of this courtyard. And the bronze is faded. It's now, it's greenish. It looks like the Statue of Liberty, as bronze is one to do. But it is the first piece that people
and the other
with.
thing that's really interesting in that courtyard that our tour guide really wanted us to spend some time talking about was that giant sphere sculpture that turns, and she kept telling us about the significance and the meaning, but I was just fascinated by the movement of it. Like how is it not falling over?
And you can just stare at it, but it's like a sphere within a sphere. And the artist Arnaldo Pomodoro, I think so.
Yeah.
He said it was more to symbolize the complexities of the modern world and modern Christian worlds kind of living and cohabitating together. So it is right there in the pine cone courtyard. But there's two very interesting pieces just right off the bat. And me, I'm like looking at the stairs going, thinking back on it now, I was like, I didn't know Michelangelo had a hand in, designing these as well, which is to me more interesting than the giant pine cone. But, it is what it is.
There were so many really neat things to see. And someone had told me their favorite part of the entire tour was the gallery of maps. And so when we got there, I completely agree with them. That was personally my favorite part. I love old maps. I don't know what it is, but these are not ordinary maps. These are giant wall coverings that are maps. And it kind of walks you through time. Like as they explored more, the maps got better and a little more detailed and more accurate. So it was sort of a timeline.
Yeah.
It was really neat to walk through this.
So there's like these 40 topographical maps of Italy. But believe it or not, they're not geographically perfect, and it didn't really have anything to do with what they knew about the landscape or anything else like that. They were actually intended to showcase the Pope's influence across the peninsula. So mountains look like giant green waves, and coastlines are kind of wildly out of scale. But it's almost like art as propaganda back then. They would bring visitors in and say, like, look what the church influences. Look what the Pope has influence and power. Because believe it or not, when men in power come in contact with each other, not everyone is on the up and up. Some people are just trying to do other things. This isn't that kind of show, but it is something to think about. And so, they did have, it was kind of, they would march people through there and go, look at.
Well, I just noticed how beautiful they were.
Oh, they're amazingly beautiful.
I did, hearing this kind of taints the view of it a little bit, but the hall was beautiful, and it's probably the room I took the most pictures in.
Probably, yeah.
So many photos of gorgeous maps, and you just on both sides, your head swiveling from one side to the other, looking at these maps, and then from there, I think when we left that room, we got to go out because we were on a tour. We got to go out past the Pope's apartment. Do you remember that?
Yeah, and down his personal
private
staircase and hallway.
Yeah. That
was neat.
That was cool.
'Cause that's where I was like, man, maybe the Pope will pop out and be like, oh, hey. I had the Netflix going. I needed to.
I know. I kept turning around because she said that there was the door at the top of the staircase led to his apartment. It was like a secret door. And I kept turning around as we were going down the stairs. Like, is that door opening?
Yeah. And they didn't want you taking pictures and doing anything like that. And of course I did because I don't listen. I don't follow rules, not even my own. But yeah, I kept looking up going, maybe I'll see a little set of eyes.
Even if it's security, I just want the door to open.
I just want someone to interact with me so I can have this story to tell. So I don't have a radio show one day where I'm just like, well, nothing happened in that hallway. But one can always dream. If you're listening, Popey, Mr. Pope, what do they call him? His Holiness? Something. I want a handshake. It's Unskilled Travel Show. We'll be right back.
Unskilled Travel Show is brought to you by Diamondback Land Surveying. For all your land surveying needs, contact Diamondback Land Surveying at 702-823-DBLS.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Unskilled Travel Show. Sorry, I lost the thought over here. Jeremy Long here with my co-explorer, Amy.
Are you thinking about giant pine cones?
I am. Bronze ones. What they mean for fertility. Where exactly do you have to... You know what? Never mind. Not going to talk about where you stick pine cones. We are talking about a visit to the Vatican. Things you shouldn't miss. That a lot of people often do as we kind of roll through it. And gosh, I wish we had way more time to get to everything. And we don't, which is a shame. But that's what makes it great. You can keep going back and seeing more and more stuff. Like our next trip, I definitely want to go back and see it all again. And I think this time we'll just do it on our own. I
think so too. And I think I would want to, instead of ending at the Basilica, I think I'd want to start there.
Yeah.
Because
it's a lot.
It is a lot. I think you could spend a few hours just in that one space. But saying that, there's something we haven't mentioned yet. There is a dress code.
There is a dress code.
They do not like for women to have bare shoulders. And if you are standing outside trying to get in, they had those blue shawls that they were handing.
Yeah, they were very respectfully giving women blue shawls to cover shoulders. Bare
shoulders. If your skirt or shorts are too short, they would have you wrap it around like a skirt.
Yeah.
And also you cannot show midriff. I would say the dress code's more for women than for men because men don't typically show that much.
Oh yeah, because I was wearing shorty shorts.
But there were a couple of women that I noticed had multiple of blue shawls wrapped around them. So I'm not sure what they were wearing underneath there, but just no bare shoulders, midriff, and you don't have to have like 2 floor length pants or a skirt, but preferably to the knee.
Yeah. And those are good rules. And you need to listen when people, because you got to be respectful. It is an active place of worship. It is a holy site. And regardless of how you feel about anything, respect when they tell you things like that. But also, I mean, there are different areas. We've mentioned several that they didn't want you or encourage you to take pictures of.
Right.
Definitely no video. A lot of people were doing it anyway, because that's just the age we live in, including me. I'm not calling anyone else out. I do have video that's never going to see the light of day outside of our personal thing, because I don't know. There's something about the Swiss Guard. I don't want them just showing up and being like,
even though they look like clowns,
punching you in the face and taking my laptop. So we mentioned the Basilica, and everyone kind of rushes through there to get to like the famous works, Michelangelo's Pieta and climb the dome and all of that. But they miss things. A lot of people miss things like the bronze statue of St. Peter, which his toes are worn down from centuries of people touching it. And, you know, some people you'll see even kissing the feet, you know, of this statue. The Chapel of the Blessed Sacrament, which is tucked away to the right when you go in, and it has this golden tabernacle, and it's just a beautiful area, but it's kind of tucked away because you are instantly met with like St. Peter's tomb and everything that's above it, because it's supposed to be the resting place of St. Peter, the first pope, one of the apostles of Jesus, that all of this is supposedly built on top of. And then there's things like the tomb of Pope Alexander the Seventh. So it's like this classic dramatic, you know, holy, just, I mean, it's
was that the kind of rounded thing?
No, that was the other one. No, I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. No, that's a bronze skeleton. That kind of...
I don't remember that. There's so much to see in there.
There's so much. And there's signs all over the place. But you really could... I mean, I would want to start the tour there next time, my visit there, because there is so much. And I feel like we didn't get to see near everything, which comes to the point of like the things that require extra tickets and you have to prepare well in advance. The necropolis. We talk about going underneath, beneath the Basilica is basically a first century Roman cemetery that was rediscovered in the 40s that they've restored. I think only 250 people are even allowed daily down there. So you have to book it well in advance. And yes, it is booked up a very far time out.
Wow.
And as soon as those tickets are made available, they're often snatched up in a matter of minutes.
Wow. Okay.
But you go down and you see, this kind of cemetery that they didn't know for years was down there. And it's an experience that not everyone gets to do. So if you plan your trip right, you can do that. Same thing with like the Vatican Gardens. Walking around, I mean, that's almost half of Vatican City are these 57 acres, because I think the whole thing is like 120 acres total. So 57 of that are these Vatican Gardens, which you are closed to the general public.
Yeah.
You have to book a special guided tour to go on these things. And again, it's booked out well in advance. So, just plan ahead is all I'm saying.
Right.
If you get nothing else from this episode,
plan ahead. Plan ahead. Bring some snacks because there's nowhere to get food.
Bring some Teddy Grahams. You're going to get hungry.
And even have a map and X marks the spot for the restrooms, because, again, there's not that many restrooms in there.
Yeah.
I remember the tour guide telling us when we first came in, everybody should go to the restroom now. And then there was one other spot, like you said, where she's like, these are the only other restrooms. Like, go here or you won't be able to go at all.
Absolutely. Then there's the, the Bramante staircase, which is the beautiful double helix spiral staircase that was designed by Giuseppe Momo. Of course it was. Old Giuseppe. Oh, Momo. He was always out there doing some stuff. It's kind of wide enough for two people to walk up and down at the same time, but a lot of people are doing it at different periods of time. People can do it, so it can be slow going if everyone's climbing and taking pictures and doing all of that. But it's something that is not right in front of people, so they kind of miss the first time around.
I remember the tour guide mentioning it, and then I never thought about it again. So I think if you're going, yes, plan ahead and kind of do some research. What are those things you really want to do? And kind of plan a route of how to get there. Because even though it's not a large space, there's so many people there that you're having to deal with crowds. But you kind of need to figure out, okay, what am I going to do first? And then what's next to that I can get to? It
reminds me of like our visits to the Louvre or the Met. Mm-hmm. If you don't have all day, which this is an all day thing, so like plan accordingly. Mm-hmm. It's going to be your all day thing. But if you don't have all day, you'll really want to, map it out. Like we're going to go here first, and then we're going to skip all this, and then we're going to go to this. And then if we have time, we'll come back to the other stuff. But if these things are high on your list, then you may need to, and just plan. I mean, it's an old building.
Right.
There's not a whole lot of shortcuts built through. Sometimes you got to walk through entire wings to get to other things, and those wings are filled up with people.
And it was so crowded when we went.
Yeah.
Like we said, there were multiple tours happening, plus you had the regular ticketed people. Some of the rooms, everybody was just crammed in there, and you had like one flow of people going one way and another flow going the opposite way. Yeah. Because they also, that one of the things I recall was they have people in there kind of monitoring how busy it is in the flow. And we would start walking to one room and they would like rope it off and like, no more people in this room. You have to keep going.
Yeah. You have to kind of clear people out, and then they open it back up.
Right.
And shut rooms down. Forgot about that. It's a good point. But one of the places I really wanted to emphasize was the Raphael rooms. These are often passed through because, look, Michelangelo gets a lot of love because it's probably one of the few Renaissance artists and masters that people know, and they know off the top of their head. But the other Ninja Turtle, Raphael, actually was commissioned in 1508 by the Pope Julius II. And these are a series of rooms that are painted by the actual genius master Raphael and his students. Raphael, single name, like Madonna, right? But they have like the School of Athens that shows Plato and Aristotle, and like little sneaky cameos of Da Vinci and Michelangelo himself that Raphael kind of painted and his students painted. And then there's the fire of the Borgia, right? Where Pope Leo IV is calming a city fire by blessing it. But there's a moment in the painting where a man is mid-tossing a child out of a window.
What?
You gotta look close.
I don't remember this.
It's chaotic. It's easy to miss if you're moving too fast, but it's also kind of one of these hilarious things that I saw. But yeah, he's just kind of tossing a kid out the window.
Did you take a picture of it?
I don't think I did. I took a mental picture of it.
I have so many pictures of ceilings, and I don't know what rooms they are.
Yeah.
Nothing, because almost every ceiling had a beautiful painting on it. So I just have all these pictures of paintings. I don't know what it is or who painted it. I just know my camera is full of pictures from the Vatican.
There's so much to look forward to when visiting the Vatican, when planning out a trip. Do your research, plan out well in advance, get those tickets early as soon as you can. Always skip the line, right?
Always.
And enjoy some pasta. We'll see you guys next time.